What is going on, guys? MMA Island team, we got the fight picks, and we got Julia Avila taking on Sijara Eubanks. Now, we were supposed to see Sijara Eubanks fight last week, and the fight gets called off. It was one of many fights on the last card that gets taken off.
Talk about it.
Not because of the same reasons, because Carol Hossa was who she was supposed to fight, gets taken off the card due to a weight cut issue, and she was in the hospital. Hopefully she's doing okay, and hopefully we see her fight soon. So, and before that, wasn't Sijara Eubanks supposed to take on somebody else before Carol Hossa as well?
Yes. Yes, she was. Hold on, let me find out that. You can keep talking about it. I'll tell you who it is.
Before we find out who that was, she gets her third opponent, and it is Julia Avila. And she fills in for this fight.
Chesson.
Yeah, MMA Island, Chris, the leader of MMA Island,
Simps.
his favorite fighter.
Simps for Chesson.
His favorite fighter is how I word it, Macy Chesson.
I'm less nice.
So looking at Julia Avila, man, this is a girl who is currently 8-1. Actually, you know what? I'll talk about Sijara Eubanks to start this off. So she's sitting at 5-4. Obviously, huge difference in records, but we know this, that records don't tell all in fighters or fights. Some people don't. But we're going to tell this about Sijara Eubanks is that look at the competition that she has fought. Caitlin Chukagian lost to her. She's obviously great. 2 losses to Aspen Ladd. Obviously, we know Aspen Ladd is great as well. A win against Lauren Murphy, Roxanne Modafferi, both pretty high competition. And then she had a win last against Sarah Morris. She obviously also had a loss against Betch Kohea.
Probably should have won that one.
Yeah, I agree, actually. And then looking at Julia Avila, man, her last fight on the Calvillo card,
nuked.
I had people over for that fight. I typically don't have people over for the fight night cards, but I did for that card just because the main event was kind of but so looking at that fight, man, I remember when that fight happened, Gina Mazane and Julia Avila, that fight happens, and I'm like looking away for a quick second, and the second I look back, Julia Avila is just feeding Gina there. And she gets the TKO finish in the first round at 22 seconds. She looked amazing. She beat Pani Khanzad, who actually, if you're going to go deep into going deep MMA, but if you're going to go into MMA math, which is not what going deep MMA is all about, but if you're going to go into MMA math, she beat Pani Khanzad, and Sijara Eubanks lost to Betch Kohea. So that's not the reason I'm going with Julia Avila, but I am going with Julia Avila here for a couple reasons. So talking about this, like Sijara Eubanks, and not to keep going back on the records, and I'm also kind of stalling because for whatever freaking reason I don't have the stats opened up, but Sijara Eubanks losing to kind of the best of the best, I guess you could say. She's beating Caitlin Chukagian, she's beating Aspen Ladd, or she's losing to Caitlin Chukagian, losing to Aspen Ladd, and losing to Betch Kohea. Those are 4. Or I guess 3, because she fought Aspen Ladd twice. Those are names. Those are pretty big names. And then obviously she was in the Ultimate Fighter, beating Roxanne Modafferi. Yeah, man. I look at Julia Avila. I look at the output we've got, and looking at the only way she lost due to a finger injury is how it's listed on here. And I don't know how, it was
gruesome,
bad.
broken. There was this video she posted from the hospital. She seems to be in good spirits the next moment, shows her finger, and it's like, oh my God, it's one of the most just gruesome injuries I think I've ever seen.
Okay, well, I will hold myself back, and I will hold my football-based self back, because from football, if you dislocate your finger, you pop it back. But I guess it was a lot worse than just a dislocated
It was a lot
finger.
worse.
So I will hold myself back then, because knowing me and like, if you're looking at it without knowing that fight, I definitely probably should have. But if you're looking at it without knowing how that fight went, and you see a girl who's 4-0 and then loses her fifth fight due to finger injury, I would be like, dang it, man, I hate that I lost due to that. But I'm going with Julia Avila in this one, finger injury or not. I don't see Sijara Eubanks having an answer for this. And looking at Sijara Eubanks' last 3 fights, really, can't really say there was too much you can like say she's going to go out there and just beat Julia Avila. Now, I'll say it. This has and it's tough to say this, but this has Shanna Dobson type vibes to it. Shout out Shanna Dobson, shout out her fam as well. But man, looking at this fight, it's got Shanna Dobson Maria Agapova fight, because you look at Maria Agapova, who was 9-1 at the time, and Shanna Dobson was 3-4 at
Let's
the time.
calm down these comparisons a little bit.
and hey, no, because I'll say this, because how I expect this fight to go is I expect Julia Avila to go out there and start throwing down and start throwing punches the same way she did against in the Eye of Calvillo card. So I'm just thinking that she's going to go out there and she's going to try to knock out not Shanna Dobson, Sijara Eubanks. So, and I will say that she is able to do it. I think that she's going to be able to knock out Sijara Eubanks. I think she's coming in here, and with Eubanks, kind of getting yourself ready for three different fighters. It's tough. And those are three really tough fights for Eubanks. Julia Avila, Macy Chasson, and Carol Hossa. Those are really tough fights. I did have Carol Hossa beating Sijara Eubanks, and I will think Julia Avila beating Sijara Eubanks as well. I just think the output, the finishes, just the lack of vulnerability we've seen at a Julia Avila is something you got to take into play as well here. And she does have a decent amount of fights, so you can't really say that the experience comes into play. The only way you could say experience comes into play here is that Sijara Eubanks obviously has fought the better competition. She's also lost to the better competition. And then kind of looking at the Sarah Morris fight, I thought she was going to be able to get a finish against Sarah Morris. Isn't able to get a finish there. And I just think this is a huge step up for her. Obviously, Avila's not crazily tested in the UFC, but I just think that from the output we've seen at the Julia Avila, she's going to be able to go out there and kind of display her skill set a little bit more than the other fighters we've seen fill in, just because I think that she is ready. And I think Sijara Eubanks is also, I assume she was closing in on a weight for last week. So it's going to be interesting to see how the weight cut goes. So, I got Julia Avila on this one, pretty decently high confidence. So, and I will pass it on to Zach.
Man, Julia Avila, prospect I am quite high on, actually. I think she is the best prospect in women's bantamweight right now, and something the division needs. The division really needs Julia Avila to win this fight. Luckily for the division, I think that she will. Because if we look at this, she really should be undefeated. You really can't put any stock into a loss where she breaks her finger 49 seconds into the first round. And not just any broken finger. It was gruesome. You could see her flesh. It was just terrible. I'll show you a picture after we're done recording, because that will get us demonetized just like that, even though we're not really monetized. Doesn't matter. We don't want to get a guideline strike. But, man, has she looked impressive in the UFC so far. Just absolutely impressive. First fight taking on a very tough out in Pani Kianzad. We know how good that Pani Kianzad is. She's in that top 15. Dominates Pani Kianzad. Gets a 10-8 in the third round. Incredible. And then in 22 seconds, just nuking Gina Mazzani. It wasn't even close. And I would just like to say before I would continue further, after Carol Hossa stepped out, I said I think that Julia Avila will step in and fight Eubanks. And here I am talking about this fight.
I can second that. He did call it as soon as it happened. Make sure you guys follow headline.island on Instagram for the fast news updates, because the second that fight came out, Headline Island posted it, sent it to the group chat, and Zach called it. He did call it.
Yes, I'm very proud of that. And another thing is that Julia Avila has beaten fighters who are better than Sijara Eubanks. You can even make the argument that Kianzad is better, but then you look back in her regional days. Wait a second, that's former UFC champion Nico Montano, the worst UFC champion to ever exist, and probably that will ever exist. And then in top 10, Marion Renault. Both these fighters are ranked higher, I believe, than Sijara Eubanks. So I won't say this is a step down, because this is a big step up for Avila, because Mazzani, if she's not cut yet, nope, she's booked against Ostovich. That's right. But that's a loser gets cut fight, bottom of the barrel. But another thing about Avila is just so well-rounded. Does everything really, really well. And cardio for days. She has gone 5 rounds before. She can put on a crazy pace and not gas out. And when she enters the cage, she just goes into this like wild, savage mode. She'll just go out there and her intention is to hurt her opponents. That's why Julia Avila is so much fun to watch. Like, she does not care. She will go out there and she will brutalize her opponents. And that's something that Sijara Eubanks has shown to have weakness for in the past. Fighters who will just kind of use that aggression, that like pure, unfiltered aggression against them. Because that's one thing Avila could do. She's so like nice. She's a geologist outside the cage, but inside the cage lets out all that anger. And man, does it show. Power in her hands, great forward pressure, takedowns if she wants them. This is Avila's fight to lose, in my opinion. Eubanks can win this fight. I don't think she can finish Julia Avila. I really don't think she can win a decision either. It's possible, though. It's possible. I'm very high on Julia Avila, most definitely, and I think that this is a good stepping stone, you know, person who won TUF. Didn't Sijara Eubanks win the Ultimate Fighter?
Can't confirm.
I might be
I'm
getting
behind
her.
on the Ultimate Fighter. I think I'm on.
No, she missed weight. She missed weight in the finale, and that's when Modafferi had to step in. I think that is what happened. But you know, I'm going on too long. I have to say that Julia Avila wins this fight by decision. Can she finish Eubanks? Probably, but I think the decision is going to happen. I don't think Eubanks' chin is, and I think Eubanks is a better fighter than Gina Mazzani. So yeah, Avila decision.
All right, fair enough. So pretty high confidence from both of us. We do see the way. I will even call out Shannon Dobson and say that it could end up the same way like that. But Zach will kill me for saying that even more. So, man, we want to know what you guys think. If you guys got Eubanks, make sure you guys are letting us know. But if you got Avila, make sure you guys are letting us know as well. Point is make sure you guys let us know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the other Fight Pick videos.